You're listening to Planet Vera Radio. I am Cindy Schwartz, and this is The Patient Partners. We are a podcast. We're also broadcast on iHeartMedia, and we're up on the podcast platform, so look us up on that. We're going to continue for the third part today talking with John and Lynn, and John's going to get right to the discussion on why this medical scenario that he had went, I don't want to say belly up, but it went literally kind of belly up to where he felt that it was not the procedure that he signed up for, and what he did about that, and why he thinks that that's not the procedure that he signed up for. So, John, good to talk with you again. This is our third segment. We'll get it wrapped up today, and we'll tell the listeners what also happened when you started investigating and when you started asking for help and how that ended up. So go ahead and start with your story.
All right, real quick, it was to fix what's called a venous ablation. Basically closing off a vein at my ankle that had blown out. Went into a major hospital to have this procedure done, one that I at the time respected. I was told that it would be a small incision below my knee and an emergency access point if something went wrong about 2 inches above my knee. And that's literally all I was told going in. It was my first time surgery, so I was completely in the dark as far as what questions to ask.
Mm-hmm. So now you've had this surgery.
The procedure went through.
Go ahead.
The procedure went through. I came to back in the first room that I was in initially. Within a few minutes, I was completely coherent again, coming out of the anesthesia, and I thought things went fine at the time.
When did that change?
Again, the nurses. The next morning, I went home that day. I was driven home. Went the next morning to get my shower, and that's when I discovered that I had been shaved in my entire groin and abdomen area. This was something that was never once in any of the literature or the face-to-face or several phone call consultations I had with the staff or the doctor that was ever mentioned to me. The groin was never mentioned as a possible emergency point, as even being in the surgical field. I was absolutely, you could have hit me in the head with a shovel and I would not have looked more stunned than I was when I discovered that.
And why is this such an important thing for you to realize this now for this surgery?
Well, it's important to realize because it's deceit on the staff's part. I went in for a procedure around my ankle, and for 100 different reasons that they gave as we went into the investigation about it. I'm sorry, I'm just so frustrated by this. This is so irritating to me. I want to hit something, it brings up memories of what they did to me. And I don't have words to describe how horrified I was upon seeing what they did. Mm-hmm. It would have taken a 30-second conversation to explain to me what could happen. Mm-hmm. And they neglected to do that.
And so you feel violated because it was an area that you would never have thought, and I'm kind of putting words in your mouth, but you would have never thought that they would have broached any of this at all. You were in for a surgery around your ankle. None of this was explained. And you also weren't given any other options except to have this done, but not told that all of this stuff was going to be shaved and manipulated and whatever, exposed and the whole bit. Am I saying the right thing?
You are 100% correct. You are. There are two key factors here. One, the doctor herself offers a less invasive procedure. She often does the less invasive procedure, meaning she does it with a local anesthetic in a surgical suite, not an operating room. So the same doctor does this alternate procedure, but never mentioned that to me. Mm-hmm. The other factor that I just cannot get around is in the first room, the examination room, for lack of a better term. I was given the traditional surgical gown, which was not the open in the back style, but a completely wrap around, like a house coat.
So you were totally covered, so you thought you were going to stay covered through the whole thing.
They also gave me underwear to put on.
Okay.
So why would I have even thought, if they provided me with this full wraparound gown and sanitary underwear, why would I even think that those would all be removed 30 seconds later after we walked the 20 feet to the operating room?
And after you were under the influence of some drugs that you didn't even know that this was going to happen.
Right. They pumped me full of everything. Allegedly, I was in a recovery room. That is completely gone to me. I have no knowledge, no memory of any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember sitting up after the procedure in the operating room. Next thing I remember, I'm walking back into that first examination room. Granted, it was only 20 some feet, but still, there's again a small lapse in time for me. But then after a couple of minutes in that first room after the procedure, like a light switch went on and I was completely coherent again.
Okay, so let's switch it now, John, because we only have like 3 minutes left, and I want to get out your podcast, your blog website, so people can follow up on this story because it's quite involved and so many people that you've talked to. Let's switch now to what you did when you found out that this went on and you thought that you rightfully had disagreements and you were, were assaulted and the whole bit and you wanted something to happen, you wanted something to change. Let's switch to that and say what actually happened, what you tried to do to have this rectified.
We contacted every available resource that we could find at this hospital. Everything from the Office of Patient Experiences to sexual misconduct. We even talked to the police department that's in charge of the area around this hospital. None of them gave any concern for our case. Everything was just kind of passed along. I encourage your listeners, if they want to find more detail, check out the blog site that my wife and I started. It's Medical Me Too. That's Medical Me TOO.wordpress.com. We put all the details in there that unfortunately we just don't have time to go into today.
And so how do you feel now, John? This was a little while ago. How do you feel now that when the people that say in all the literature, because that's what they hand you when you're a patient, if you have any problems at all, talk to an advocate, talk to these people are here for you, that they're not, that you found out now they're not there for you. They haven't done anything.
Oh, they are 100% there for you unless you're going to question what was done to you. If you're questioning what was done to you, if it was in the walls of a hospital, you're fighting an uphill battle with any of these avenues of approach. Organizations that are supposed to be there for protecting and guaranteeing patient rights, they're all about saying that. But when it comes to actually fighting the fight, they're very reluctant to do so.
So how do you say that they're there for you then? Because, in theory they are. That's what we all say on this. But when it comes to actuality, when you press them against whatever, they're like, nope, this didn't happen to you. We don't do that. This is one of the standard is this is part of the procedure. It's just the way it is. You've signed the consent form. So that means that basically that's carte blanche. How do you feel about that?
One of the findings by one of these organizations supposed to be looking out for patient rights said, well, on the consent form, there is implied consent within that consent form. So I implied that I okayed them to strip me and shave me. I implied that it was okay to expose me to a room full of strangers. I implied that I am comfortable with all of these things, all of the drugs that they were going to give me. That's how they got around that. They were saying that there's implied consent within the physical consent form that you sign.
And how do you feel about that? We even
contacted frustrated.
Yeah.
We contacted several lawyers trying to go from a legal side.
Right.
One of them actually physically laughed at us.
Right.
What we told in the story. So
yeah, we've got like 15 seconds. Yeah, go ahead. We've got like 15 seconds left.
Very good. We are going through some of our state representatives. Well, in my former state representatives, we've contacted them in order to try and get the ball rolling on putting pressure on hospitals to change their procedures and be more open. Follow the Bill of Patient Rights that all hospitals put out there. But again, go to medicalmetoo.wordpress.com. All of the details are on there. And I just hope if it can save one person from going through what I went through and what my wife's experiencing secondhand, it would all be worth it. I would do it again in a heartbeat to save somebody else from going through all of this.
Okay, John, thank you so much. You've been listening to Planet Vero Radio. Please stay tuned.